Hi, bookish nerds. We're a little late on a September wrap-up, but we are here to do a September wrap-up. It was a crazy month for me for September. September was my teenager's 15th birthday. Crazy to think that he is 15 now. We also had a bit of a slump, mostly because I was sick. So not a full slump, but a bit of a slump. So I didn't do a lot of reading like the last little bit of September. But the fun fact for September, I still read a lot. There's going to be a lot of books here that I don't have physical copies for because I read from my library because I am back in the office at work. So I can actually walk to the library on my lunch. So that's fun. As far as total books read, I read 25 books in the month of September. I read 6,188 pages and 43 hours of audio. Some of the books were read dual video, audio, and physical, or with my Kindle, depending on what was there. I'd listen to the audiobook whenever I'm driving a lot now. So we have 3 different sections. We have the manga section, we have physical books, and then we have the 2 Kindle books that I read. I did participate in the Aurelium Magical Readathon, but I did not complete all of my prompts, so I did not complete that readathon. I did read a few, which was great. We also started the autumn book bingo in Sarah Caroli's book club, so that was fun. That'll be going through until November. There's a few plans for the month of October, but we're here to talk about September, so let's get into it. Starting with the manga section, I read 12 mangas. I finished the Witch Hat Atelier. I am completely caught up to that on volume 12, and I gave that a 4.5. And then the Attack on Titan was all through my library. I found out that they have the majority of the rest of the series, which Attack on Titan is one of my favorite animes. I have not finished it because I wanted to read the manga first. So I gave all of the volumes 9 through 12, either a 4 to a 5. There were only 2 volumes that got a 5-star rating, which was volume 13 and volume 16. I do know in one of those volumes you find out the story behind Krista. So that is one of them. And I also just love Krista and Aaron's friendship. And the rest of it was story-based. So those are the 2 mangas that I am currently working my way through. As far as physical books that I read in the month of September, we started the month. This was a month of me reading the series that I'm actually reading. So I finished 1 series and made progress on 4 others. Actually, all of my physical books are part of a series or a duology. So the first physical book that I read this month was A Demon's Guide to Wooing a Witch. This is a follow-up to A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon by Sarah Hawley. This is book 2 in Glimmer Falls. You do need to read these in order. If you just pick them up and one after the other, you are not going to understand what is going on. This literally picks up with the events following book 1 with Astaroth and Mabel? Is that her name? I think so. But this is the story. Nope, Astaroth is in this book. Ozroth is book 1. Astaroth is this guy here with a sword in his cane, and this is Maribel's. I think that's her name. Something like that. It starts with an M. Calladia, I think is how you say her name. But it follows these 2 crazy shenanigans happen in this book. I gave this one a 4.75. I really enjoyed this one. But again, tabs, I enjoyed this one a lot. The next one, that I read was Arch Enemies. I read this immersion reading, audio and page length physically here. I gave this one a 4.75. There is a full vlog coming with this later this month. I am currently working on finishing Supernova, which is book 3. I gave this one also a 4.75. This picks up right at the end of Renegades and keeps going, and it's a trip. I will say that I really enjoyed this one. It's hard to put these books down. They're very easy to read, very quick, super quick. The next book I read physically was Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I did also read this in the car because I have the book on audio. But Harry Potter has a special place in my heart. I'm thinking about doing a reading vlog for Harry Potter. I haven't read this since I haven't read Harry Potter in probably 15 years the whole way through. I'll pick one of the books up every year, but I haven't read the series the whole way through in a very long time. So I give Sorcerer's Stone 4.25. It's a great start to the series. Most people are very familiar with the Harry Potter series right now, but this is Harry's first year at Hogwarts. This teaches you the beginning of the series, how the Golden Trio gets together, his first interaction with Voldemort at Hogwarts. It's a great introduction to this series. The next book, this was a surprise. The Barnes & Noble girlies gave me All of Us Villains, and said, because I love the found family trope, this is Six Crows Back Here by Leigh Bardugo meets The Hunger Games with magic. So this basically is a story of 7 families that are put into a challenge arena, very much like The Hunger Games, where they have to fight each other to the death to see who controls the high magic in the area. This follows, you get 4 points of view. You get Isabel McCaslin, Alistair Lowe, Brianne Thorburn, and Gavin Grieve. Gavin Grieve is the underdog. Alistair is supposed to be the villain of all villains. Isabel is the face of the challenge, and Brianne is not even supposed to be there. So how does she end up as a champion? This book was a trip. You do not want to end this book without having book 2 handy. I read this through my Libby app with the audiobook while I was driving, and also physically, and it was fantastic. This was my only actual book 5-star for the month of September. I really, really enjoyed this book. Highly recommend it. Alistair Lowe feels very Kaz Brecker-esque. So high-key recommend it. It's in the same vein. I really enjoyed the little twists that it added to all 3. I did just finish the second book last night, so you'll get more information, but that was a great introduction to a duology. And one of my favorite books. I think it's going to end up on the shelf back here. I also read Chamber of Secrets with the book club. We're in the middle of rereading the entire Harry Potter series. I really liked this one, though it reminds me how much I hate Gilderoy Lockhart. I truly despise that man, and I hated how Hermione didn't believe Ron and Harry throughout the year, saying, oh, he's this and oh, he's great, but that's just the lure, the charismatic manipulation of what is and what isn't there. The thing I despised the most, and this book was very emotional to get through because I was reading this the day that Maggie Smith died, and it was a rough day because Maggie Smith is an icon to this generation. She is Minerva McGonagall, but all of her other roles that she has, she's fantastic. May she rest in peace. But I didn't like how in the movie they took out some of the trial. No, that was Sorcerer's Stone. Sorcerer's Stone, there's going to be a vlog at some point of the Harry Potter series. Chamber of Secrets was also a 4.25. This is actually one of my least favorite in the series, but we'll see if it continues. The last book that I physically read is the finale to the Glimmerfall series, A Werewolf's Guide to Seducing a Vampire. This follows anxiety-ridden Ben and PTSD vampire Eleanor. Ben buys a stone. This takes place 2 years after the events of books 1 and 2. Ben buys a stone from a witch that supposedly holds a vampire. He's drunk off his ass and laughing about it, and the hijinks ensue. I really liked this book. I initially rated it a 4.25 because I kept putting it down, and that didn't feel right because with the mental health representation that went into this book, it deserved a higher rating, and part of it was because I set it down because I was sick the entire last week of September, and then I finished it over the weekend to wrap up this was the last book that I read in the month. And I really enjoyed this book, and looking back at it, I did raise it to a 4.25. I really liked Ben and Eleanor and how they worked together, how they protected each other, how they learned to cohabitate together. It was just a really great book. I'd still say A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon is my favorite out of that series, but I did quite enjoy all of the other installments. I read 2 Kindle books this month. I read Tame the Heart, which had chronic health representation. It's also a cowboy romance, and if you don't know me by now, I am a cowboy romance girly. I enjoy the hell out of a cowboy romance. Tame the Heart was a 4.5. It follows, I don't remember the characters' names, but the girl has SVT, and it follows her and her health struggles and how she wants to actually live her life, and her dad and her brother don't want her to. The book opens with her basically being in a car accident, and they think that it is because of her heart giving out, which is not the case, but it's the same thing that her mom had whenever she was young and died young. So it follows the love story of this girl that is trying to get out of that, and she ends up on a ranch, and she's a social media coordinator, goes through and helps build a social media representation for the ranch. It's a Grumpy Sunshine, and I'm a sucker for a Grumpy Sunshine. I love it so much. But I give it a 4.5. It was for my chronic illness rep bingo sticker. And the last book that I read, the last book that I read in the month of September, not the last book that I actually read, was The Full Moon Coffee Shop. It is a translated fiction, which was one of my prompts for Magical Readathon that I did not complete. I did complete this prompt, but it followed 3 characters that get into their astrology charts. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. It just is not something that's going to linger and stay with me. As an astrology girly, I do fully support watching and figuring out your chart and learning the benefits of it, but not so much of it being your entire personality. Yes, there are things that are your strengths and things like that. So I gave it a 3.75. Overall, for the month of September, my average rating was a 4.7 or a 4.53. So I had a pretty good reading month, even though I didn't read nearly as much as I would like. There were spurts where I didn't read at all, which is okay. But yeah, that was September. Stay tuned for the rest of October's lineup, and we'll get into it. Bye, bookish nerds.